Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Shawn Parker Show. We're excited to have you with us, but even more excited to have Brian VanBibber with us. Brian is a data scientist, and we're going to be talking today about something that is absolutely amazing. There's some informational breakthroughs that have been occurring. Brian has been on the forefront of this. He has a personal story to tell as well about why we're here. And we're going to try not to go too deep. We have a link for you to go to that will be available that will take you to data charts, lots of big words, lots of things that will be somewhat, you're going to have to spend some time looking at this because we're going to give you some information, because there is information out there today that we believe there is a, I don't want to say cure, that's a big word, but people with autism are treatable and their symptoms can be alleviated, and we can have a profound major impact on society and where society is because of this. So with that, Brian, welcome to the program. We're excited to have you here. You've been with us before talking about artificial intelligence and some other breakthroughs that were happening in that realm, which I think has kind of led you into grabbing all of this detail. When this goes out, I think this is going to be viral. I think we're going to have an absolute flood of information. I hope you're ready for that, because it's important that this message gets out. So with that, tell us a little bit about your background, and folks, bear with us. It's important that we set up Brian's credentials, because we're finding that statisticians, data scientists are the ones that are bringing us solutions today to many of the afflictions that are out there in society. So Brian, tell us about what you did in school and your background a little bit to qualify you.
Okay, great. Well, first I want to say that you're right. There isn't a cure for autism. This is going towards the treatment. My personal background is not medical in nature, so I want to make that clear. Yep. Up at the front of the
Or nutritional, right?
Or nutritional. I've got a data science background. I've got an undergraduate in computer information systems, a master's degree in analytics, and a master's degree in business. My time has been spent analyzing data over the last 25 years. Trying to find new solutions, putting things together, really having to look everywhere from a macro view and to try and find connections between different information points.
Okay, and you have found links in the causation of autism, you believe, in terms of how it has come into our society. Is that that's not a fair statement?
No, let me say it a little bit differently. So we don't know what the cause of autism is, and they're going to confirm that most likely, even after RFK's upcoming report. I think that they're going to confirm that there's no single cause. Okay. There's going to be multiple potential variables in play, and one of those variables that's extremely important is folate. Being able to have enough folate in pregnancy.
Okay.
And making sure that you've got proper methylation capabilities. And we've got a video.
Big words. I'm going to slow you down a little bit when you jump to the big words, because we need to have people understand how we got here, first and foremost. So approximately the year 2000?
About 1998.
1998, what happened with our food supply?
So in January of 98, they were supposed to start spraying our grains with folic acid. This was according to the FDA mandate, and this was in response to great news that folic acid in pregnant mothers at 400 micrograms per dose or per day reduces neurotube defects in pregnancies, which is great news, right? So they, as a way to spread that and I think make it a bigger consumed vitamin, they've put it in our food supply.
They being who?
The FDA.
The FDA
mandated that all domestic production of grains be sprayed. The only way that you wouldn't get it is if you're getting special organic, special companies that are building it without folic acid.
So when they harvest grain, they spray it in the processing of the grain into flour, into cereals.
That's one part that I actually don't know the actual
Okay.
chemical, how they get it to apply to the. I just know it's in bread,
So
pasta.
it's an additive.
It's an additive that they put into the food supply, and it's across everything that we love. You know, I mean, if you're eating pizza made from flour, flour has folic acid.
Okay.
You're eating spaghetti from noodles, noodles have folic acid. A lot of the rice that we have, it's enriched with folic acid. Like sandwiches, most of the bread is enriched with folic acid.
Okay.
Everything that we've got out there is it's too much folic acid.
So the year is 1998, and the government decides that it is important for the entirety of the population of the United States to increase its folic acid consumption
To get to folate.
for folate at the level of 400
Micrograms. Per day.
micrograms per day.
That was and it still is
That's
the
the target.
average recommended dose per the FDA today is between 400 and 600 micrograms.
And if you have that, the incidence of the main disease, spina bifida, in developing children in womb and utero is going to decrease significantly because there was at that point an epidemic of spina bifida or simply a higher incident of spina bifida.
I don't know the numbers of spina bifida. I did see that they reduced it by 70%. That's what they had found.
That's a horrible disease for a child to be born with.
And to reduce it by that amount is significant.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's definitely something that makes sense.
So
why you would think about it.
So we knew something good was happening, but we didn't. So it's kind of like 1 teaspoon of medicine is a good thing, but we go from 400 units to
Now
how
it's
many
in
today?
all of the food. It's up to 5,000 micrograms, depending on what your diet looks like. How much bread and pizza and pasta, how much of this do you eat? And then do you drink, you know, energy drinks that have it contained along with other forms of vitamins? Even certain juicy drinks, they'll add it in, and certain types of water.
So
they'll
it's
have it in
throughout
there.
our food supply.
It's
This has
everywhere.
been added. It's everywhere. And I'm going to move us back to 1998. And suddenly in our population, children being born and children developing are diagnosed with what?
So
At a much higher level.
what we started seeing, according to the data that I looked at, is the number of, I guess they call it prevalence of autism per 1,000 children. You see a chart that's going from 1994, 1996, 1998, and then you start to see this exponential boost in the number of incidents with autism per 1,000 children.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that folic acid is causing autism. What it means is that it's failing to provide folate to the mothers during pregnancy
Okay.
for half the population. And it's actually causing a problem in these cases, resulting in what they're now saying is likely the cause.
So this moves into kind of a long chain because it's not 1 + 1 = 2. There's a number of things that happen in the body with a process called methylation, and we're going to refer you to take the time to learn about this with our attachment, okay? Because 1 + 1 in this situation doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 starts ending in all of these different equations, if it's fair to say, where things are happening in a person's body because of this. So the primal cause, in a sense, is an overdose of folate or folic acid, perhaps? Is that a fair way to say this?
It would be a deficiency of folate.
Okay, deficiency of
It's a
folate.
deficiency of folate, and our attempt to give folate to the masses through folic acid is failing
Okay.
for half of us.
Now, we're going to do a little leapfrog right now because I don't want my viewers to fall asleep yet, okay? Because this gets complex and it's tricky. Why are we here today? What happened in your life, in your family's life, that caused you to go into this deep level of research to find the data, analytics, and to go out and source information? Because this is big. when you hear this, and it's a real life example, and people can say, hey, this is one, but this isn't one. This is many, many. Let's talk about that a little bit. What happened to you guys, the year 2000, what happens to your family?
Well, so I've got a wonderful son born in the year 2000 that was diagnosed as PDD-NOS. And PDD-NOS was a group of autism that they just couldn't really classify. It was really hard to figure out what group of autism you belong in, so they'll put you in this other group. And then that actually got taken away, and now everything is just autism spectrum disorder. But what's happened now...
So I'm just going to cut in a little bit. So you and your wife had a child. The child was diagnosed with a type of autism or something that was grouped in the autism spectrum.
Yes.
Okay. Today we are hearing 7%. I checked before we taped, and on Alexa, okay, I know it's a great news source, right? But Alexa says that 7% of children today are born with autism. I can tell you, when I was growing up, that number was 0.0 something in terms of the experience that I had. My undergrad in education, I worked with a group, the Hannah Neal Center, as part of my training in college. These were kids with heavy spectrum autism that we dealt with. We only saw heavy spectrum. We didn't see light spectrum. Now we can dismiss all sorts of things to society, to a larger instance of parents keeping kids at home, things of that sort. But we just didn't see it out there like we see it today. And today it seems to be a pandemic going on of kids diagnosed with this.
Well,
so let's move over to that a little bit and stay on that.
Well, so think about this. Your genes haven't changed. Our genes that have been handed down haven't changed. We didn't just all of a sudden get these gene deficiencies. What's changed is what we're bringing into our food.
Okay, so it's our consumption, it's the introduction of product into our bodies.
So a lot of us, we're taking, my wife included, we're taking the 400 micrograms a day of folic acid plus getting it in her food, as she should in 2000, and we had a son that's got autism spectrum disorder. About 2013 is where things get really interesting. So we find out that he's on the spectrum, we put him through regular school, we get everything going, group therapies, everything's great. But then around 2013, 2014, he develops a severe stutter. It's terrible. He was at a point where he had strep throat and flu B, and they think that was likely the cause that pushed him into some sort of a syndrome called PANDAS. Went to many different doctors. None of the doctors could find an answer to what was causing his stutter. We went through speech therapy. We went and tried everything we could, and from a medical perspective, a pharmaceutical perspective, nothing was working. As an adult, we took him to an adult neurologist. Couldn't find anything. Did all the tests, looked at everything, no heavy metals, everything that you would look for. Couldn't find anything. And then I found out that I've got a gene deficiency because I listened to some podcasts and got interested. And then I found that there was a connection between those gene deficiencies and autism on a video from Dr. Sonia Doherty, who I'm also hoping we'll be able to link to get information.
So Dr. Doherty practices where?
She is a Canadian doctor. She practices, she's an ND, not an MD, so she's a naturopathic doctor.
Okay.
More around like the science of it instead of the practice of it.
Okay.
But she's got an amazing Autism 101 video where she will take you through everything that you need to know from how to really interact with people with autism. If you're not really familiar, you should learn. Most of us are familiar and have that in our lives, but even though you've been around them, you may not know how they think. And she does a really good job of expressing what they're going through in their own brains and what's happening. So I very highly recommend that video as well. But for us, after watching Dr. Doherty, I realized that autism is the disorder. What we see isn't the disorder. We see the expression of symptoms. The expression of symptoms derive from how we create our brain goo, all of our neurotransmitters.
Right. This is the outward appearance of what's going on in the inside.
Right. So if you can't create serotonin, you can't create dopamine, you can't create these things that balance your mood, make it so that you can pay attention, make it so that you're not, just sitting down, that you've got motivation to do things. These are incredibly important, but your body can't produce them. So my son couldn't produce these things, and it started to express itself in my son through stuttering, through tics. He started grabbing his eye or doing different thing called stemming. And what we found through this discussion with this video with Dr. Doherty is that you can treat these symptoms. That's where it's not curing autism, it's treating the expression of the symptoms that your autistic patient is going through. So there are nutrients that you need, and that video that I've got that explains all of this in very good detail. We'll take you through the different types of supplements, the different types of pathways, how it all works, and what you would need to consider to take to your own doctor to talk about for your patient or your child.
Well, jumping into that, let's stay on that, but we do want to talk about, are physicians trained to the level to understand the nutritional connection with the symptoms that are out there? Because we look for the pill. We want the pill to take so that we can cure whatever it is that ails us. And you're talking about a lifestyle change, a dietary change, a rebalancing of the chemistry of the body, which is in a sense pharmaceutical in nature, but rebalancing it so that the body is not manifesting these symptoms out in a way as extreme as what we have diagnosed, or what society, the medical community has diagnosed as autism. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I mean, we had high hopes with folic acid. We thought that it was going to do a lot of great things, and it's not to blame in this case. And I want to make sure that we focus on that.
Well, it's not. It's a building block of life that's necessary, but too much of anything is a problem. Is that fair to say?
It is, but I want to bring focus to one very critical point about folic acid. It is synthetic. That means that it's man-made. It's not found in nature. It's cheap. It's cheap to produce. That's why we're using it. It's not that it's this thing that we need. It's the cheapest way for us to deliver folate to the masses.
Okay.
And we need to look at how do we find something that's going to serve the entire population, not just 1 out of 2 of us. And that's what's really happening right now. Folic acid is only being able to be processed in 40 to 45%, according to all of the information that I've found. And then, like I said before, 90% of the autistic community is dealing with this problem with folic acid and autism.
So to recap that, 50 to 55% of the people can process folic acid.
Turn it into folate.
45% of the people are getting a substance that the government has deemed important for us. 45% of the people cannot metabolize this supplement.
And then there's varying levels of the capability, which is where people get stuck. You've got these gene variants, and some gene variants are worse than others. And a combination of these gene variants make it even worse. So there's a lot of people saying that it's not just the MTHFR gene, or it's not just this, or it's not just that. And they're right. It's an orchestra of mistakes in our DNA that's causing this.
Okay.
And we wouldn't necessarily have this problem if we would have had folate at the beginning in its right form. Okay. According to what we're hearing from all the sources.
So with your son and your family situation, you went into a dietary modification, and what happened?
Yeah, so we added supplements. We gave them what we have found to be the most critical things, getting methylated folate, the kind that you can actually absorb and use, getting methylated B12, which is methylcobalamin or hydroxycobalamin. Big words, I know.
Let's use that for the attachment. Because
but these are really important, because if you don't, there are other forms of these 2 vitamins that are not going to do what you need it to do. And maybe they're cheaper to make, and they're cheaper for a reason. They're not what you need. But there are 2 very important forms of vitamin B that you need, B9 and B12, and you can go to the video to get more explanation on that.
So your son, and I want to back up a little bit. Your son academically has a bachelor's degree. He has a diagnosed autism.
Bachelor's degree from a Big Ten school.
From a Big Ten university, which is, that's impressive. which means his mental capacity is very good, but he's got something else that is causing him to have this affliction, is probably a good word, that's getting in the way. So it's not like he is in a situation where he can't make great things happen. He just has something in the way of the success. You modify his diet, what happens?
Well, so put yourself in his mindset. He's got this capability to learn that you've seen. It's amazing. He's such a superiorly gifted child when it comes to memorization and things. But imagine being that smart, but always having something that's distracting you because of these oversensitivities, whether it's his shirt being itchy, or there's a smell in the air, or his hair feels funny, or there's something that's constantly pulling for his attention way more than what we have to deal with in a day. That glutamate that's in his brain, that goo, it's just explosive, and it makes him really have a hard time focusing. So imagine having to live there and then have that lifted. And that's what's happened to my son.
So this distraction through diet
And
is reduced, minimized, or eradicated.
Yep. He has come to me and says, "Dad, my thoughts are clearer. Dad, I'm able to have conversations at work. Dad, I'm having multiple conversations at the same time. I'm walking by people having a conversation and saying something to somebody else and then coming right back." These things that you and I take for granted, these are big steps in him and in his ability. And it's not just that, he's also really really wants to be social, wants to be a part of the group, wants to go and do things. He's, tired of sitting at home. It's been night and day different, and it's been amazing to watch.
So, Brian, could it have been something else that happened in his environment that caused this? Could it be a change in the water supply, drinking more water? Could it be, or do you think, at what level do you think there is a direct causality? Because a lot of people are going to see this, they're going to share this video, they're going to have a lot of questions. And I know this is a big responsibility, and we're here because this change is so dramatic, and this young person, he's now in his 20s, has had a complete, I'm trying to think of you think of these movies, Limitless, you think of these movies where and it's not all of a sudden, it takes time for these toxins to come out of the body. Toxins isn't the right word. And you have a son
it's important.
And you have a son who's operating at a normal level that you didn't have since he was a child.
No. I wish I would have had it 20 years ago. I wish I would have known.
Oh, I know.
At least we could have treated it then, and then there would have been a different outcome. Who knows what he would have had from a socialization standpoint in Cub Scouts and in team sports and other things if he had the ability to focus and listen to instructions, carry out not just one thing at a time, come back, but 1, 2, 3, 4, then come back.
Right.
There's that ability that he didn't have at that time, and that who knows what could have happened if we would have just started treating the methylation problem as a child.
Because a solution existed. And now you may have stumbled on, I don't think stumbled is the right word, I think researched your way into a solution that various practitioners have been getting bits and pieces of. Or did you just find the one person who said, hey, this is it?
I've listened to so many podcasts, from
You've
Dr.
been searching for years,
Lynch.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that I've listened to. There's a lot of NIH documentation. These are National Institutes of Health documentation proving everything that we have said. It's all out there in a document. There's nothing that we're saying that's false in this space. I want to make sure that it's clear that we don't know that it's causal. We can't directly say folic acid causes, but we can say that not having folate has a big impact, and especially from what we're now hearing that's coming out from the health secretary, a big impact on how autism starts.
So autism, 7% of children born today will develop autism.
I think that's 1 in 14 boys, yeah.
1 in 14 boys. Okay, so every class, an average school class, has 30 kids. 2 kids in that class are going to be autistic, born today, unless we can figure out what that change or what that causal relationship is, reverse that, and make those normal children again. Is that fair?
Very fair. I think it's very fair to say. I think that, and I don't want to say that we make them normal, because that makes them seem like they're not. So,
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to overstep and use language in a slippery format, because we're talking about people with special circumstances, and not, no two are alike. All human beings are unique.
And there's no two forms of autism that are alike. I mean, everybody expresses it in completely different ways. You'll never find 2 exact people that have the exact kind of autism, because it's not autism that you see, it's the expression of symptoms that you see.
Okay.
And then there's also the severe autism that's a different case, the very non-functioning autism.
Right, the kids I dealt with when I was a sophomore and a junior.
And we saw them
at my Big Ten
occasionally.
university.
Yeah, we saw them occasionally too when I was growing up, but it was never at these numbers. Never at these numbers.
I mean, it's so widespread, and it's so across. When they introduced the word the spectrum, I thought that was an interesting phraseology to bring in, because it starts talking about from 1 to 10 or 1 to 100 or 1 to 1,000, and when you have 1,000 and no 2 are alike, you can then say 1 in 10,000 or 1 in a million, and that's identifying us with the uniqueness, the way that God makes us, our individuality, but yet there's this gigantic thing going on in society. I want to say, I don't like to say pandemic, epidemic, but something happening out there, and yet we're looking at it and we said, is it our diet? Is it, as people say, are they putting stuff, are they seeding clouds and we're getting it out of the clouds? Is it fluoride? But here you have scientific evidence coming forward in the way the body processes things. You talk about homocysteine, and when you folks go, and you do need to go, you need to invest an hour of time to see what he's talking about. What are some other things because it's inflammation, right? Inflammation's the culprit that happens in some regards.
Right. So if you don't have folate, you're not going to be able to take from what you eat in your food methionine. It's an essential amino acid. You take methionine to go do some DNA repair or to create a neurotransmitter. This is the essential part of life. It's doing everything that you need to do to be able to keep you moving and doing everything you do. The result of that is a byproduct called homocysteine. So in this process, you start with methionine, you process it the way that you need for whatever use, then you come out with it with homocysteine. Our bodies have the ability to then recycle it back into methionine. And it's continue to take care of yourself and repair the DNA, which we have thousands of DNA repairments that are happening every day from chemicals or radiation or whatever exposures.
We get a sunburn, and our body reacts to getting a sunburn.
Right, and this is our body's way of repairing itself. It's also the way of creating all of that brain goo that we need to be able to take care of our mood and all of that. So we've got. I'm sorry. Take me back to where I was. I got sidetracked.
Well, what we want to talk about is we have a system going on in our bodies.
Okay, I'm so sorry. So now we've got homocysteine coming back, and we've got to recycle it.
Right.
So those that have gene impairments, I'm one of the 45% that have the gene impairments. I can't take folic acid, turn it into folate, to be able to make this methylation process happen so that I can convert homocysteine back into methionine and keep that engine running. I have to take special vitamins to take care of not only giving myself the ability to methylate, but also to get rid of the homocysteine on it.
And methylate is processing the folate out of your system.
It's the engine.
It's the verb.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. So your inputs are what we eat, and that, if you're eating meat and vegetables and everything that we should, like we've been taught from the time that we were young, we'll get all the stuff that we need from those things. We can get folate from our vegetables. We get folate from meat, mostly from our meat. All of these sources, that we get more from meat than from plants, because it's just, you get less bioavailability because it's fiber. Those are fibrous things, and we can't process it like we can with meat.
Okay.
So we want that folate as a part of this process. And if you can get it, that's great. But if you can't, you've got to get the essential amino acids through supplementation. Just a simple powder, throw it in your water each morning just to make sure you've got the raw materials that you need to be able to start this methylation process.
Okay.
Then if your engine is all set up and ready to go, you can process them and build out your neurotransmitters and do the things.
Let me stop you here. You're not selling any product.
No, there is no affiliation to any company. There's no affiliation to anything except for my own YouTube channel.
Okay.
If I've got anything there, I've got nothing to gain.
No, and that's important to say, because it sounds like when you say you can put a powder in, drink a powder in the morning, this goes away, that we're going to be moving into selling you a product. There's no product here. This is informational, and this is very much about the ability of people to diagnose themselves, or to start not necessarily diagnose, but to think about what they consume on a daily basis,
but that brings
and whether
up the
or not that is causing problems in their metabolism.
Exactly, but that brings us back to the problem that we forgot to answer. It's like with the medical community.
Right.
How do we get the medical community to start picking this up? Because this isn't coming from MDs. This isn't general practitioners. My son's doctor had no idea what this meant when I started talking to her about it. My doctor had no idea what this meant when I started talking to her about it. These are not being trained into the medical community that need to be aware of it. And that advocacy is important, especially once you're an adult with autism. You've already been given all the services and diagnoses. You know how to get yourself going. You're not going to be looking for any sorts of avenues to get out of the situation. You're just trying to make sure everything continues.
You just want to get through to the next day.
And these general practice doctors, they're happy to just make sure that you're not sick. If you get sick, we'll take care of you, just like any other practitioner. They don't have what they need from an education standpoint on this topic.
See, I don't see this as thinking necessarily outside of the box. It seems like it's inside the box, but no one's allowed to navigate around inside the box to ask those questions. Because, again, I better not open my mailbox and be careful starting my car tomorrow, but the pharmaceutical industry looks for single source solutions in terms of pills that alter the chemical balance. And what we're saying here is there's a possibility that the chemical balance has been upset because we are consuming foods with folic acid as an additive. God didn't make it in the grain that God grew. We added on top of it to solve a problem that primarily women have in developing a fetus. So I'm kind of wondering what it does to men, in terms of the men, because I eat the same food as my wife, and if my body doesn't produce the right elements to process this, what's it doing to me? It's got to be doing something, because it's there. Or do I flush it out?
It's a good question, and then you just need to get tested and figure out where you could put a change in your diet, and if you need supplementation with anything, then you'd be able to find it.
Let's talk about, we're going to jump over a little bit into bodies processing the chemicals that come in through our food supply, what we think are good foods. We go to our grandmother's house, our mom's house. She feeds us a big old plate of pasta, and on top of that pasta, she puts some vegetables because she wants us to get our vegetables. She knows that it's good to have vegetables. There's some meat in there probably because we're meat eaters as Americans. But some of us aren't, but most of us are. That flavors our food. And we go to town and we have ourselves a nice big meal. We have bread and butter, maybe garlic butter if it's a little extra special, and we've got a big dinner. But we might be doing something to ourselves here in a very, very bad way.
So let's go with your pasta example. You're getting some really good folate from the meat, for sure.
Okay, meat's giving me folate.
Yep. You're also getting folic acid from the noodles, most likely, unless you're getting organic or you're getting special.
Because folic acid is added to the grain.
Added to the grain.
It doesn't grow. It doesn't grow in the grain that my noodles are made out of.
Exactly.
It's an additive.
It's an additive. So you're getting both.
Okay.
Your body prefers folic acid. The folate receptors actually have a preferential binding to the synthetic form of B9. So if you have, you're in your gut, you've got all your receptors. If it's already lined up with vitamin B9 in the form of folic acid, you're not going to be able to take folate. It's going to swim on by, depending on what's going on with your metabolic disease, metabolic issues that you could have at that time.
Okay.
Now you don't have folate, and let's just say that you don't have autism. You're just a child right now, and you don't have enough folate in your body to be able to do this methylation process to create things like serotonin and dopamine. So you start displaying symptoms of mood issues, not being able to pay attention, having different depressive type states that you start getting worried about. And from a pharmaceutical standpoint, what we're doing is then saying, well, let's give you an SSRI to help you take the serotonin that you do have.
What's an SSRI?
It's a serotonin uptake reinhibitor. It makes it so that you can take serotonin and make it last. It rations it out so that you can keep it in your system for longer.
Serotonin is that's a feel good, right?
It's definitely your feel good, but it's got a lot of other capabilities, and it gets downstream turned into melatonin. That'll affect your sleep, so it affects your mood, affects
You're
your
describing
sleep.
the pasta night at my house. I feel good when I'm eating it, and then I'm sleepy after I eat it.
Absolutely. That's different reasons. But so anyways, we take this, and then we start seeing that these children have symptoms, and we put a pharmaceutical solution to it instead of a food solution to it. They're not creating enough serotonin. How about we help fix the engine? How about we give them the raw materials? And then we check and see how things are going before we go straight to these. ADHD, it's a big connection to this problem. If you've got the same thing, can't control himself, can't focus, all of this, these are symptoms of methylation, ineffective methylation process. So you can go forward and take a look at this and see, do these things apply to my child? It's real simple. Are you eating your right foods? Are you at a place where your engine is working, and you can get your DNA tested to find out? And then you've got to make sure that you are.
Where does a person go to get their DNA tested for this, and how expensive is it?
It's extremely expensive, which is part of the problem. Right now, there's methylation deals that you'll find out there anywhere between $400 and $700, depending on what level of care you get along with it. It's way too much, and insurance doesn't cover it.
Yeah, that's not practical for most people.
It's not.
I mean,
so there's another route that it's not an official route. You're not going to get an official doctor looking at it, but I went through myancestry.dna.com. I downloaded my file. I created a spreadsheet that would go and examine the DNA and pull forward the information according to what I needed in this area. So I know what my first and second alleles are across all of my genes that are of concern.
So the genetic database that already exists, because a great number of people have put their information in there.
If you've already got it.
It's sitting probably in Utah in a database that could be utilized for the greater good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, issues that come along with it. You're going to be dealing with your DNA file across.
Right, and there's a lot of privacy issues. There's a lot of, which a lot of our folks are going to say, nope. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I don't know that I want my DNA in the general population of data, but I think it's already there, because if you have my brothers and sisters, you pretty well have a complete workup on what mine looks like.
The outcome has been too important to think about anything else. For me, I don't care what privacy I've given up on this. If I have, it's worth it to have gotten the answers that I've gotten, and then to lead to this result with my son.
Okay, fair enough. So you've seen a marked improvement.
I have.
I mean, not an accidental improvement. I mean, that's what we're trying to get at.
And every day it's new, something better. I mean, he's constantly, just surprising us. And
you've got your son back.
Well,
I know that's a stretch, but in a sense,
I don't feel like I didn't have him before. I've got a version that I can connect to better. I can understand where he's going with conversations and why he thinks things now. He explains things better, and he looks for social cues. And one of the things he told me is that he notices more details. And when you listen to Dr. Doherty, who I was talking about earlier, she explains that if you have autism, you don't see details. You see big picture. You see macro. You don't I'm talking to a person. There's noise coming from one side of the room, and there's another noise coming from another side of the room. Those are the things that they are experiencing. They're not seeing that two men in their whatever age group, in whatever clothes they've got on, matching, not matching. They're not seeing any of the details. They only see the big picture.
Wow. That's, I mean, it's astounding, because it's, in a sense, it's almost like waking up.
Yeah. So now he sees so much more what's going on around him, and he's experiencing things, and he's learning things, new things that in new ways.
Wow.
So it's been really it's been exhausting for me in the part where I've been trying to get the word out to as many people as I can, and I've been spending so much time researching and making sure I didn't get any of this stuff wrong. But it's been completely rewarding for me in every which way.
Well,
I've had friends that I've given this information to that are coming back. Their sons are having absolutely the exact same reactions. Mothers crying because they're able to have a mother-son talk from college of a 21-year-old who primarily never really gave details on anything that was going on, is now giving major details and having long conversations. It's amazing. It's not a case study of one, it's been a case study of several. And if you go in and talk to Dr. Doherty, she's got even more.
So there's something here.
It's something there for sure.
I mean, this, I'll tell you, this is such a big thing to digest in so many ways. And it's why we're rushing this episode out, because the information is so impactful, so important, that we wanted to get Brian on right away. And you need to share this episode, folks. You need to make sure that anybody you know who has a child with any type of an autism scenario gets to listen to this. Because frankly, that's what this world's about. Social media is the new power that helps people deal with these things in their world, because the other solutions may not be out there.
The market's going to have to drive the behavior change. The market's going to, we're going to have to go to our doctors with our own information that we found, and we're going to have to start asking them to provide us with the services for these things, and they're going to just have to figure out how to deal with it.
And then I think we need to have a complete review, which is going on right now with our Food and Drug Administration and our Department of Health and the World Health Organization, which I'm not sure what they do at times. But when we bring these high-level groups together and they say that one size fits all, let's start spraying the food with chemicals.
I'd really be curious to see what the population studies look like for countries that are using folic acid in their grain supply versus those that don't.
Okay, well, let's see if we can get our hands on that. Folks, if you have that information or can help us get that information, we need to get our hands on that. Brian will do the deep research to find out about it. We're going to try to get him more resources so that he can dig deeper. And if we can help more children, more families along this line, that's why this podcast is being done today. Please share it. You have to like it. There's nothing not to like. This is a dad who has led his family through 20 plus years of providing love, care, and hope. And the hope is manifesting itself today with his son having a result. I think it's a beautiful thing, and thanks for coming out.
Very welcome. It's been an amazing experience. I'm happy to share. Thank you very much.